Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
A very good evening. We're coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios right here in Colombo. A very good evening. This is Primetime News. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
Good evening. I am Shahin Jarampati. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines. Uproar in Parliament as special sitting to table bond report is adjourned. Speaker informs House report would be tabled in a week. President speaks of politicians, thieves and pickpocketers. 2 dead and 2 others missing in ship and multi-day trawler collision off the coast of Deundara. Kumar Sangakkara says cricket could be included into the Olympic Games if leading cricketing nations come together.
Good evening to you. At the very outset, let me bring to your attention what happened in our parliament. Now, we heard the voice short while ago, and everyone with a common understanding can figure out that it is the voice of the Prime Minister. Anyone would be able to recognize the voice of our Prime Minister. There was a debate in Parliament today, and the debate was not about Mahinda Rajapaksa. The debate was not about who the rogue is. The debate was held, the parliamentary session was convened to table the Bond Commission report, and that was the objective. Now, the President had informed the Speaker, and the Speaker then informed Parliament that the Bond Commission report will be tabled or presented in Parliament within a week. Now, with that happening, the Prime Minister decided to carry on a special or make a special statement in Parliament. And what happened? The members of Parliament came forward, and there was a lot of shouting in Parliament. The members of Parliament had been in the well of the Parliament. They were shouting at the Prime Minister, and you saw a little bit of what happened. Now, with technology these days, people tend to report whatever they see. A few parliamentarians also who had mobile phones with them decided to show what was happening inside the legislature, inside the Parliament, to the whole world. We also very quickly gathered this footage so that you sitting at home can also have a look at what happened inside the Parliament this afternoon. This is what happened. Have a look. As this commotion was taking place in Parliament, the Prime Minister powered on with his speech, and he was met with more uproar, and the members of Parliament were actually in the well chanting against the Prime Minister in the chambers. Now, with this happening, the Parliament was very quickly adjourned. Once the Parliament reconvened, the Prime Minister made that statement that he wanted to make once again. Now, with the question of who the rogue is being raised a number of times in Parliament, this information had gone to the ears of the President, who was speaking at an event in Anuradhapura. The President had this to say of a certain tactic used by pickpocketers. This is what he had to say.
Both sides in Parliament are calling each other rogues. Unable to figure out who the thief is, a major altercation broke out today. You know, there were far more pickpocketers in Colombo Fort back then than there is now. These pickpocketers snatch the money out of the pockets of the innocent people while they're walking along the pavement. While the pickpocketer is running away, the owner of the wallet runs after the thief yelling that he has been pickpocketed. While all of this is happening, bystanders just look on as the pickpocketer is being pursued by the owner of the wallet. The pickpocketers then start shouting at the thief who is running away. This is exactly what is happening to politics in the country. However, the people clearly know who the thief is and who is not a thief.
The information that we receive from the parliament of our country, with the lack of a better word, is absolutely shameful. Now, these are the MPs, the public representatives, the politicians that all of us appoint. We send them to Parliament so that they can solve our issues in Parliament. Millions of money is spent on all of the elections that are held, and even on a special session that is held in Parliament, about 4.5 million rupees is spent for each session in Parliament. We spend all of this money through the taxpayers' money that they collect, and what do they decide to do once they go into Parliament? You see what is happening inside the Parliament. Now, senior politicians, senior ministers, former ministers, and even junior ministers alike, they act in the same way when it comes to dealing with problems inside the Parliament. Is this what we want as a country, and are these the type of people that we send into the legislature, the place where rules and regulations for the country is made? Now, we see a senior minister, we received reports to say that a former senior minister and a member of Parliament, a very senior politician, came forward through the chambers and attacked another member of the Parliament. Now, these two members are MP Gamini Lokuge, the senior minister, and the other member from the United National Party is SM Marika. What does SM Marika do in return? He retaliates and hits Gamini Lokuge back. While all of this is happening in one side, on the other side, another UNP parliamentarian, Dr. Kavinda Jayawardena, faints. So he is rushed into the Sri Jayawardena Hospital. Once again, is this the type of politicians we want in our country? As we speak, there are youngsters, youth, who are trying to get through the local government polls and trying to get into the apex political body in the country, the Parliament, to actually make a difference in this country. And this is where they are going to end up. The members of Parliament who are present today inside the chambers, out of the 225, whoever was present in Parliament should honestly be ashamed of themselves for putting the people of the country down to this level. Now, what was happening in Parliament, as I said, was absolutely absurd, because we saw people bringing in coconuts into the chambers. We saw, as you saw in the visuals, there were posters also, the MPs. Now, what happens if by any chance someone decides to bring in a small weapon, something like a penknife maybe? Then what happens with all of this happening? If our parliamentarians are acting in this manner, what could that have, the impact that could have, has to be thought by all of us. Now, after the brawl between the members of Parliament, MP Gamini Lokuge on one side and UNP MP SM Marika on one side, UNP MP SM Marika came before the media and had this to say.
From the moment the parliamentary sessions began, they stood up from their seats, walked into the well of Parliament and attempted to sabotage the proceedings. It was then that they started the attack. Then Sisira Jayakodi was holding on to me. Gamini Lokuge attacked me. I responded in kind. I do not know. I did not see any blood. It was Sisira Jayakodi who started it by grabbing me. Then Gamini Lokuge attacked me. I could not stay idle after that.
After the brawl broke out in Parliament, after the commotion, all the members of Parliament that were involved in this brawl came before the media, and these are a few of the selected cuts that we have for you.
Members of the joint opposition gang turned parliament into a comedy house soon after the parliamentary session started.
We know about
the actions of this Prime Minister. That is why we said we should debate this after the report is tabled in Parliament. However, before the report was tabled, he attempted to make a statement to cover up what has happened. We cannot allow that to happen.
We did not come to Parliament to be assaulted. We have no such need. People like MP Aluth Gamage are senior MPs. They acted out with hatred and anger.
If the Bond Commission report is tabled in Parliament, it will bring shame to both Ranil Wickremesinghe and the UNP. They won't be able to walk on the streets. They will be found guilty. They will be named as those who have been accused.
They are making statements because they are scared. We saw how MPs like Appu Hami behaved today.
An issue arose after Parliament was adjourned. There wasn't a wrongful assault. As a man, we should stand up and protect our people when they are being attacked.
The Prime Minister and the Speaker have a duty. What was the point of convening Parliament without the report being tabled? They could have decided not to convene Parliament. Yet they convened Parliament and caused an unnecessary issue.
Who is right or who is wrong is not the question here. Are these the type of people we want representing us at the apex political body, the pinnacle of democracy, the legislature of the country, the Parliament of Sri Lanka? That's all we have from the Parliament report today. It's back to the main studio. Shine and Mahina, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chaturanga. Moving on to more local news, the media briefing to announce cabinet decisions took place in Parliament.
The report of the Commission of Inquiry was handed over to the President. Yesterday, the President was informed in writing by the Speaker to table it in Parliament. The President responded saying he had sought advice from the Attorney General on what needs to be done. The Attorney General has informed the President the report needs to be sent to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. The President's Secretary was informed about this today. The President followed the advice of the Attorney General. The President has said it will be presented to Parliament on the 17th of January. At the party leaders' meeting, the Prime Minister said this system was wrong and he spoke to the Attorney General. The Prime Minister asked the Attorney General if such advice was given. The AG responded in the affirmative, adding the report first needs to be sent to the Central Bank and the Bribery Commission. The Prime Minister said the legal stance of the AG is wrong because the Central Bank comes under him and he is the decision maker on that institution. The Prime Minister also said the Bribery Commission and other institutions come under Parliament. Therefore, the report must be presented to Parliament first. The others filed objections. They moved to the lower level and started making noise. They came prepared with a large number of posters. They did not come for a debate, but to cause an uncomfortable situation. The ruling party members moved towards the Prime Minister to allow him to make his statement. They stood around the Prime Minister and kept him safe. Then they started to yell slogans. Our members also started to make noise. The exchange came to an end with an altercation. The people believe this will not be taken up under the usual judicial process. Cabinet reached a decision to establish special courts to address legal matters. Will this matter be taken up in that court? An 11 billion rupee loss has been identified. However, 12 billion rupees of Perpetual Treasuries Limited is being held with the central bank. So if 11 billion is the loss and 12 billion is being retained, there is no loss. However, from 2008 to 2014, a much bigger fraud had taken place. That is 4,000 billion, which means 4 trillion rupees. So this needs to be addressed through a special judicial process.
You're watching Primetime News. Stay with us. We're now crossing for a short commercial break. More local news on the other side. President Maithripala Sirisena visited the historic Jayashree Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura this morning.
President Maithripala Sirisena worshipped the sacred Jayashree Mahabodhi and thereafter called on the Attamasthanadipati, Most Venerable Pallegama Srinivasa Thero. Several United National Party activists, including Western Provincial Council member Sunil Leslie Kuruvita-Arachchi, who is also the former opposition leader of the Kolonnawa Kutikawata Pradeshiya Sabha, assured their fullest support for the programs carried out by President Maithripala Sirisena for the betterment of the country. A group of 60 prominent UMP activists in the Kolonnawa electorate met President Sirisena at the President's official residence. The President appointed them as members of the SLFP. 2 fishermen died in a collision between a multi-day fishing boat and a merchant vessel in the seas off Dondra Head.
The boat had collided with a vessel transporting vehicles from the Colombo harbour to Hambantota at around 11:20 in the deep seas, 13 nautical miles off Dondra Head. Navy media spokesperson Dinesh Bandara said the ill-fated boat has been identified as Nadisha 2, which set off to sea on the 1st of January from Hikkadua. 7 fishermen was aboard this boat, and one of them had died at sea following a heart attack. The boat collided with the vessel when the body was being brought towards shore. The Navy says 2 fishermen died and another missing. In addition, the corpse of the fisherman who died following a heart attack is also missing. The Navy is carrying out a search operation in the deep seas and dispatched 2 Dora vessels. The bodies of the recovered dead fishermen have been moved to the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital, and they have been identified as residents from Hikkadua.
The Gum at the Gum in Gamata Vavin Vavata program, an amazing journey of discovery to map Sri Lanka's ancient hydraulic civilization, continued for a 5th day today.
Today, the Gum at the Gum in Gamata Vavin Vavata team studied the Ramba Vava, which also comes under the Bellankadavala Ilangawa. Upon reaching the location, the team observed many issues in the Vava. Keeping with tradition that dates back centuries, the bund of this Vava is being renovated by the sole beneficiaries of the Vava, the local farming community. However, it was evident that the situation is completely different now. The person in charge of the renovation process says the lack of unity among the farming community is the cause for 1 kilometer section of the Vava bund to go into ruin. But it was clear to the team that the farmers had come together to renovate the bund of the Bellankadavala Vava.
This is Siambala Gas Vava. It's quite a scenic Vava here in the Bellankadavala cascade system. We are standing here in the Ihattava of the Vava. This is also another part, an important part of the Vava. Now, there's a story behind this Vava, of course. This was a Vava built by the locals here itself. This was not one that came down from the kings. And we actually got the opportunity to speak with a descendant of a person who constructed this Vava. And according to him, this Vava was once abandoned by the villagers, and the villagers moved to a different village. But now, their descendants have come back, settled in this area, and begun farming in this area. And we asked them what kind of a solution do they expect from authorities, and according to them, as you can see, the spill of the river is located over there, and even though the water in the river is not up to a sufficient level, it's almost reached the spill level, so no matter how much it rains in this area, the tank is not big enough to hold adequate water to supply to these farmlands. So the locals in this area request that the spill gate, that this area be dug up a little bit more so that the capacity of the Vava would be increased. And they say that if this is done, there might be a chance for them to vouch for a better life.
Two protests took place today. The wife of an inmate of the Kuruvita prison called on the Inspector General of Police, accompanied by her attorneys. The prisoner was allegedly assaulted in the prison.
On the 28th of December 2017, an inmate by the name of Jeevananda Rajapaksa was assaulted inside the Kuruvita prison. Though Jeevananda's relatives wanted to make a complaint on the matter to the IGP, they were not given an opportunity to do so.
I visited the police headquarters before as well. Justice was not meted out. They say we need to fix an appointment and then come only after informing them. Where are we to go to in order to seek justice? My husband has been in prison for 6 months and it's been 12 days since the incident. We are waiting for justice. Where should we go to?
Sri Lanka police is trying to justify everything. They are also trying to undermine this. They direct it to the Attorney General claiming that they need advice. We cannot meet the IGP or the next senior officer. They just want us to hand over the document and leave and come back in another 2 days. How will the oppressed ever achieve justice? We request Sri Lanka police to ensure justice is meted out. We have planned on raising this with the Internal Human Rights Commission.
A second protest obstructed the Olcott Mawatha in Colombo. Retired physically challenged police officers demonstrated opposite the office of the Deputy Inspector General of Police, claiming they were not given an auditorium to conduct the annual general meeting of their association.
The International Finance Corporation, a member of the World Bank Group, is partnering with the Central Bank of Sri Lanka to develop the country's first national financial inclusion strategy.
The National Financial Inclusion Strategy is being developed to promote a more effective and efficient process to improve financial inclusion across Sri Lanka. The IFC is expected to provide technical assistance to the Central Bank. The development of the strategy will be led by the Central Bank with the support of the Ministry of National Policies and Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance and Mass Media, IFC and all financial sector stakeholders. Over the past 3 years, the current government has sought the services of several international consultancy firms for numerous projects in Sri Lanka. Baker & McKenzie, a global law firm which specializes in financial and commercial tax law, has been enlisted for consultancy on amending laws and drafting new laws for the proposed financial city project. Sri Lanka has sought consultancy services of McKinsey & Company at a cost of $2.3 million for the Central Program Management Unit. In June 2016, the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade signed an 18-month agreement with the American firm Sandler, Travis & Rosenberg to educate officials on the peace process, increase economic ties and create market access for Sri Lankan goods and services. The Sri Lankan government will be paying Sandler, Travis & Rosenberg a sum of $630,000 for 1.5 years for these services. Most recently, the Prime Minister's office announced that they, together with the Ministry of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure, have partnered with McKinsey & Company to put together Sri Lanka's first ever digital economy strategy.
The chairman of the Sri Lanka Tourism Bureau, Udayananayakara, has been asked to resign from his post. According to the island newspaper, Tourism Minister John Amaratunga made the request.
The island reports the minister's request attributed his decision to the government's tourism restructuring program. According to the island, Nanayakara was however unaware of the request. The newspaper says chairman of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority Karan Ratnayaka, who is a sibling of Law and Order Minister Sagala Ratnayaka, will remain in his current position in spite of the government's restructuring program. In October last year, media reports emerged that a delayed tourism promotional drive has been transferred to the Prime Minister's office for quick implementation. Media reports stated the Minister of Tourism and Christian Affairs John Amaratunga had blamed the SLTPB for its failure to execute the mega tourism promotional drive and inability to meet the tourist target as envisaged.
It's now time for today's illustrated news, courtesy of cartoonist Asanka Laduahetti.
Former captain of the Sri Lanka cricket team, Kumar Sangakkara, says that if all the major cricket-playing countries come together, cricket could be included into the Olympic Games.
Kumar Sangakkara was joined by former cricket players Ricky Ponting and Mike Gatting, who met in Sydney, Australia today to discuss the game's return to the Olympics. A media briefing convened during the MCC Cricket Committee meeting.
It would be ideal if all the major countries take part. And however, looking at the 2024 Olympics, I don't think that's going to be a reality at the moment because the preparations are well underway. But 2028 seems a very, very likely target, and there are negotiations and discussions underway.
One thing we're very conscious of is not lessening the product that we're putting out. If cricket makes it into the Olympics, it pretty much has to be the best players and showcase the sport for what it actually is.
You know, it's one of those things that has frustrated me. And the fact that you know, we want to see cricket in the Olympics is something that will help promote the game around the world. Lots of governments could also then contribute money into the playing coffers for those countries that play. It just seems a great way of just promoting the #2 sport in the world.
What was Russiagate is now quickly becoming FBI-gate. Who will investigate the investigators? Also, does the US have a real North Korea policy?
And the end of net neutrality and the start of internet apartheid. All these questions will be answered next on Crosstalk with Peter Lavelle. With that, we conclude tonight's edition of Primetime News. I'm Mahina Bongzo.
And I'm Shaheen Dharampati. Good night and take care.